and welcome to my vlog. My name is Erin and this is the top 10 worst tropes in historical romance. Everything on this list is just my personal opinion. If you don't agree with it, that's totally cool. This is all subjective and just for fun. Number 1. The main character is ruined. This usually works to force the main character and the love interest together because he's the only one who will have her. Or so he can be so magnanimous that he doesn't care that she's had premarital sex. In these cases, the book usually never stops reminding us that the main character is a fallen woman. We get it. Society had different rules back then, and I understand that when women are relying on marriage as their means of survival, that they would be worried about a reputation, but oh my god, do some authors go overboard with this. While additional life paths were not that common, they did exist. There are ways for a woman to exist and survive and thrive without getting married. This trope comes with a lot of slut-shaming, even if the main character hasn't actually had sex. A lot of times it's a rumor that undoes everything, and the main character is just sitting there in their perfect virginal state, mourning the loss of all of their prospects. It gets very tedious for me. There is just so much going on around this trope that I hate that I can never really enjoy it. Number 2. Sexism blamed on historical accuracy. Sometimes writers will lean heavily into sexism citing historical accuracy, but then why do all the men have bodybuilder physiques? Why are all the legs and armpits smooth and hairless? Why does everyone smell like roses despite not having running water and deodorant? There can be a fine line to walk between historical accuracy and modern sensibilities, and it bothers me a lot when it is cherry-picked in this manner. Number 3. Super flowery sex scenes. Are you afraid to write them actually fucking? I see this a lot more in historicals than I do in paranormal or contemporary or any other subgenre of romance that I've read. I promise you that people in history knew what sex was. If I need a literary degree to tell if the characters are actually doing it among the 10 million euphemisms and purple prose, we've got a problem. Number 4. The not like other girls heroine. She rejects all types of femininity, she talks back, she breaks the rules, and everyone and their dog is trying to get up those skirts. I'm all for interesting women who break tradition, but you do not need to put down other women to make them seem interesting. Some girls like ribbons and flouncy dresses and talking about boys. They are not less valuable because of those things, just let them live. Number 5. Lack of diversity. This comes from many avenues. If I went to my local library or did a quick search of historical romance online, it's going to be a lot of very hot rich white men and a lot of very pretty white girls. Now, don't get me wrong, I love stories that are set in the 18th and 19th century in England and Scotland with dukes galore, but there are so many of them. Rogues and rakes who have tons of sex and do nothing good for the world are everywhere. The elites rule this subgenre. I want stories featuring interesting characters from other backgrounds and locations and settings. I want more than just the hot and the rich at the forefront. I just want more of everything, and while I know that it is out there, there are some amazing POC historical romance authors that are writing these things, but sometimes it is such a hassle to find, and my local library does not understand that they exist. Number 6. Hating on functional fashion. Yeah, I got it. The main character thinks that corsets are a tool of the patriarchal oppression and is completely ignoring the fact that they are a functional undergarment that work great if you are not lacing them super tight. They are an integral structural piece of clothing, and unless your main character lady is sporting a B cup or lower, she's gonna be needing something holding those boobs in that dress. I suspect a lot of the pushback against historical clothing like the corset is because these stories focus so often on the elites, who didn't have to do functional things with their time, so they were laced up super tight. The average working woman has shit to do and would not be wearing them in that way. Number 7. No fucks given about contraception. I know it is not the sexiest of topics, but if you are writing before the advent of antibiotics, vaccinations, or any real form of maternal or postnatal care, I'm going to be worried every single time these characters have sex. The risks of dying in childbirth go up leaps and bounds as we slip into the past. I know that it's romance and the main character is not going to die from childbirth, but you'd think it would be something that crosses their mind once or twice. It honestly does not ruin the fantasy for me if they are worried about their own well-being. Number 8. Personal hygiene is never mentioned. Some people get their rocks off taking a roll in the hay with a guy who spent a week on the road and smells like a horse's butt. I am not one of those people. Do these characters bathe? Do they brush their teeth? General hygiene can be super interesting when you are working with historicals. And I personally like when it's mentioned. Have them using a bathhouse or rinsing their face with rose water. Literally anything that does not force me to think about what it would be like to sleep with someone who bathes once a year. Number 9, ignoring reality. I know this might sound funny considering I'm talking about historical romance, but I love history and I love when it is taken into proper account in these stories. Sometimes the realities of these characters are just shoved aside so that they can enjoy a fluffy romance. Is that Duke a loving and benevolent landlord? Bet his tenants don't think he's that awesome. It's a hard line to walk because dukes and other nobility are beloved in this subgenre, but they are still the top rungs of society that hoarded money and held a lot of power over the lives of the average person. It is rare that I encounter a story where the actual work of being in charge is ever acknowledged, let alone being a present part of the story. I'm interested in the plight of the common person just as much as I am in cool parties and fancy fashion. Show me characters taking responsibility, acknowledging their privilege, and actually doing something good in the world. Number 10, the nameless and faceless props. This applies to servants, peasants, anyone who is in the lower rungs of society that exists solely for the hero to rescue them, to fix them, to help them in some way to show that they are truly a good person. That character, despite their suffering and importance to the plot, is then immediately disregarded. I'm not suggesting that you need to provide a name and backstory for every single person who walks across your page, but so often the lower rungs of society are used as a prop to make the elites look good, and they deserve better. So that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments below what your most hated historical romance tropes are, and if you have any book recommendations that don't include any of these, you can leave them there too. We'll be covering the best tropes in historical romance soon. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. If you'd like to be notified as soon as I upload, then ring that bell. All my social media links will be in the description below. Both of my books, Olympian Confessions, Hades and Persephone, and Olympian Confessions, Hera, are available now in ebook and paperback. If you would like your manuscript critiqued by me, you can check out my critique service on my website. If you enjoyed this video and learned something from it, consider being part of my Patreon family, and I'll see you all next week with another video. Bye! Child. Discontinue. People need to see you. Ow. No. Ow. No. Hello.